Why Brahms the Boy 2? Why? Why would you take something that is interesting and surprising, even challenging, and just completely spit right in its fucking face? Why would you do that, Brahms the Boy 2? Why? Brahms the Boy 2 stars Katie Holmes, Christopher Convery, and is directed by William Brent Bell. What is up, guys? It's time to review yet another horror movie of 2020. We're only February in, but so far, nothing has been good. I haven't seen The Lodge yet, but the horror lot that we've gotten has just been piss poor. One movie that I was really looking forward to was Brahms the Boy 2. Let me explain myself. When I saw The Boy, and I think that was 2015, maybe 2016, I can't remember, but I was surprised. It wasn't perfect. It started off pretty formulaic. I didn't know if this was going to be a supernatural doll movie or something like that. And then the last act, I hope you've seen The Boy, when Brahms comes out of that wall, a fully grown adult version of him with the hairiest chest we could possibly imagine.
There's something. Jesus, what is that?
Looking scary as hell, and then all of a sudden this movie turned into something different. It was pretty much like a slasher type of movie. But it was interesting. And so that alone got me interested in this movie. When I heard that they were finally going to be making this movie, I was excited. I was scared because when the movie was announced, it was supposed to come out like 4 months later. And we didn't even have a trailer until I think last month or the month before. But here we are. Went to this movie last night. And I still don't know what my rating is. And I just said this to what was the last movie that I reviewed? Oh, Fantasy Island. Yeah, I reviewed Fantasy Island. I gave it a 2 hours lost. So you know that I'm fair with my reviews. And I don't want to go into this review completely ripping the shit out of it, but that's what's going to happen. That is definitely what's going to happen. Just because this ending, oh my God. And guys, I hated this ending so much that I have to make this a spoiler review. I will try to reserve my spoiler talk until the last part of the review, but just know that going into this, guys, okay? Because I can't not talk about what they did to this movie. So consider it pretty much a spoiler review. But you can already tell my feelings on the movie. You could probably guess my rating's either gonna be one of two things. But anyway, let's give it the fair assessment. Let's talk about the quick plot synopsis. One of the big things about this movie was the way the trailer looked. Was this going to be a prequel or was this going to be a sequel? It played out like it could be a prequel. And I even posted on Killer Flicks, I was like, please don't let this be a prequel. That would piss me off because I want to know what happens after the events of the last one. At this point, after seeing this movie, I probably would have accepted a prequel even more. So there's one cat out of the bag right there for you. This is a sequel. And unfortunately, that's not the best news. But following the events of the last movie, you have this family. Let me backtrack a little bit, though. Let me set the table for you before we get to that house where everything happened in the first movie. You have this family, Liza and Sean, and their son, Jude. Beginning of the movie, there is a home invasion. Liza, played by Katie Holmes, she is attacked by this group of robbers. And her son, Jude, sees this. And it petrifies him so much that he pretty much becomes a mute. So we're already in Halloween 5 territory right there. Liza has a tough time dealing with this. And eventually her husband Sean says, hey, why don't we get away? And they end up moving into this guest house that happens to be the guest house of the big mansion that the first movie took place in. And let me jump into my first con right here real quick too. They gloss over this opening scene, this attack on Liza. And I think they could have done a lot better in setting up Liza's state of mind. I think that scene, if it would have been a lot more graphic, it would have been better and more intense for the movie starting out. But they didn't do that. It felt pretty blah and PG-13. And for something as traumatic as what happened to Liza, they don't really touch on it too much. Or they don't show you the meat and potatoes of it in the beginning. It's real quick. But anyway, they get to this house. Jude finds the doll, Brahms, and he digs up the doll. We've seen it in the trailer. He pulls it out of the dirt. And as we all know throughout the movie, the doll starts controlling Jude. If I have to give the movie any pro, I will say, knowing the events that happened in the last movie, it's kind of a mountain to climb with the doll because you know that the doll is not supernatural, or at least that's what we're thinking. So anytime he like turns his head or anytime the doll's not there, we already know what's going on. But in their defense, they actually do a pretty decent job in the first 2 acts of this movie, making the doll creepy. For the most part. There is the one part where she's looking at the doll and then you see like all these like bugs and stuff come out of its mouth. I thought that was really stupid. But I guess it fits into what happens in the last act. There was a build to this thing, and I was thinking, okay, this is pretty cool, and it's gonna set up them actually finding out that Brahms is in this wall, the full, the adult version is in this wall. And this isn't a review of me complaining about what I want. Don't get me wrong here, okay, guys? I would have accepted 10 other final acts, and they would have been better than what we got. And I'll explain myself. Just hold on for a few minutes. We're gonna get to that. Now, I'd say Katie Holmes is pretty much the breadwinner of this movie. She's doing a pretty good job throughout, playing her part. Really, the acting between her and Jude is pretty well done, even though Jude is kind of a mute through most of the movie. The father, Sean, pretty much useless. He doesn't really play like a great father role at all. He's kind of just in the background and reacting to everything that Liza and Jude are doing. But this guy isn't going to make fathers around the world unite at all. There's also this gardener named Joseph, played by Ralph Ineson. You might remember him from The Witch. And he is kind of the guy that tells them and the audience, the story, what happened with Brahms. Okay, now with the plot out of the way, I've given you maybe one thing that I liked about this, and that was kind of the build-up, to the third act. If the third act would have been great, then I could have given this movie a good solid review, and it wouldn't have hurt the first 2 acts. But because what the third act is, the first 2 acts are pointless. So anyway, jumping right into the third act of this freaking movie. There was a point where I had a bad feeling in my gut. I'm like, oh my God, are they really doing this? Are they going down this road? I was waiting for the next scene after whatever scene I was watching to make me feel better, to actually say, no, we're not going the same supernatural route that all these other movies do. There's going to be this great unveiling at the end. This movie pretty much almost retconned what happened, that beautiful ending that happened in the first movie. What they did in this movie was make the doll supernatural, and they didn't even show the adult Brahms at all in this movie. They pretty much just discarded him. Yes, he exists, but the big reveal in this was they were trying to go bigger with it. They were basically saying that this is something that's been going on for hundreds of years. There's always been the doll Brahms there, and he preys on these mentally abused children, children that have had really rough upbringings, and makes them depend on him. Instills fear in them, preys off of every weakness that these children have. And I think because they were trying to go bigger with it, they thought it was going to be a better ending. What they didn't realize was they gave us a pretty much cliche, tropey type of ending. Uninteresting whatsoever. We've had so many of these supernatural endings that are much better. Guys, I was pissed. When I left this movie, I could not believe that they did that. Stacey Manier, who wrote this movie and the last movie, she gave us a really interesting story in that last movie. To take that and just completely crap all over it in the second story, I just don't understand it at all. And like I said, the first movie wasn't perfect, but it had a lot of interesting ideas in it. It really did. And it set things up for possibilities. The sequel to this movie, I think, could have been really great, actually. If they would have maybe even make it like, I guess you'd call it like a sidequel where they tell a little bit of the backstory of the adult Brahms and then lead it up to this. But no, they didn't do that at all. Like I said, they gave us this like CGI fest at the end with the doll after the father bashes its head in. Then it like rises up and it throws Joseph against the wall. It just was all so stereotypical and really embarrassing. You can tell I'm just so pissed off at this movie. This was just a disgrace. Brahms is pretty much Chucky now with zero personality. Okay, my mind's made up, guys. This is a fucking looped in hell. Looped in hell all the way. Deserves every bit of it. Shame on you. Shame on you. The Boy 2. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on The Boy 2. Hopefully you didn't go see it. If you did, post in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought. And I know I'm being really mean here to the filmmakers and all that, but you know what? I just want better movies out there, you know? And I think I'm just frustrated at this point because we've had so many bad movies in a row. And after a while, it does get old. But anyway, come over to Killer Flicks where we talk horror all day and every day on Fridays. We do Free For All Fridays. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.